want to take you to the next concept and theory, well, depending on how you see it, called the socially engineered mindset founded on negative values. I call it a kind of the grassroots of African problems. We all work and thrive on negative values. There are certain ideologies that we share as Africans. We just don't know how we got them, but we just discover that this is what we believe in. We just practice it. We just take every decision anchored on it, and we don't know how we got these things. But I'll tell you how we got them and why it is so strong. And it's already engineered in our mindset, but on negative values, and it's hard to deal with, except by strong enlightenment, strong orientation, and willingness or commitment to make a change and see life differently. So I also say that one of the greatest conveyance of these values, the way it's passed from generation to generation, unconsciously, ignorantly, we pass this mindset from each generation to another generation. As we receive from our fathers and our ancestral fathers, so we are passing it to our children. By our actions, by our practices, not really by education, not by teaching them. You don't need to teach them. Just by whatever you do, the values that promote and support what you do, it's what the children and the next generation learn from. And they hold it as part of life, as the anchor of life. And they continue and pass it over to their next generation, which is their children. And that's how we call this. Now, this is what I call it the entertainment prophets or music prophets in the reggae industry called mental slavery. Mental slavery. You know, each time I remember that word, I remember people like Bob Marley, Lucky Dube, Magic Fashek, and the likes. And they've said a lot about this, but it doesn't seem like we are taking it seriously as Africans. Some people do not even understand what it means. But they're so rest in peace. Those are our prophets. I wish we had them. We wouldn't have gotten to the level that we are today. However, it's called mental slavery. And I want to tell you something. That mental slavery is worse than physical slavery. Mental slavery is worse than physical slavery. Do you know why? If you have your body chained, have your hands, on chains, your feet or legs on fetters and so on and so forth, you just chained me. You just restricted my movement. That is the physical slavery, which our forefathers went through. But that has nothing to do with my mentality. It hasn't changed my senses. During those days, even our ancestors, our forefathers, they had very clear and strong mind of liberation, of freedom. They were so sound in the mind that one day they knew that they didn't get themselves into this. Even some of our African brothers, supported and facilitated the slavery, the era, in selling our fellow brothers because of what they will gain. We all know that, okay? But even at them, majority of them, we are so sound in the brain. They were not enslaved upstairs. They were only enslaved physically. And that was why they so much believed, when you go back and even the same kind of values, they were passed up to the generation of Martin Luther Kings and the likes, that we are so strong in what they believed in their vision. Their vision was so sound and strong. So even though you chained them, that's physical slavery. They were still sound upstairs. They were not mentally enslaved. And they believed and they worked hard on their vision. They kept working, kept singing it. Some died in it, others continued until they got there. Now, it's quite different from what is going on in this next generation. Those days, our fathers were taken from their homes to the country where they never wanted to go. They struggled to come back to their motherland out of their own will. They were coerced to do that, and they were struggling to come back. But what we are finding today, we are now struggling to go there, and they are even the people pushing us back to stay in our homes. Well, apparently. Okay? So, what is the difference? So, the difference is that now we are not on chains, we are not on fetters. We are physically free, but unfortunately, our mentalities, our perceptions have been enslaved seriously. So what it means that even if they allow you walking freely and you think you are free, mentally you are enslaved. And that is the worst type of slavery, because you can still be walking alone, just walking aimlessly, and at the end of the year, you've wasted their life and nothing meaningful has come out of it. But because you're enslaved here, your whole body, respond to the values, to the philosophies and ideologies you believe in. And that's what we're suffering today. So let's look at some core negative values that we are socially engineered, and this is what we practice today. The first one has to do with loss of our most prized culture and values for foreign values and culture. I'll take Nigeria for example, because I know some other African countries, they have other Anglophone and other countries with different languages based on their colonial masters. But for us, that we are colonized by the English, I do not understand how we have so much bastardized our local languages for foreign language. And not just that, we've held foreign language so high esteem against our development, against our wish, against our promotion, against our everything about us. So it has to be, you have to know how to speak English. And not just speaking English, excellently well, like an Englishman, even though you're not born in English. Let me read this from the script and show you something. What English has done, where I have taken it to. Okay, let's hear this. Our poor children will not gain higher education because they could not speak and write English very well, but could speak our local languages. We also supported that as Africans. English becomes a core subject and our local languages become secondary or the least. Does speaking good English really translate to being educated, mature, and cultured in adding values to the society? Where and how did we get this notion and value about foreign languages? Why we allow our own local languages become extinct? Could it be that our local languages, which is our culture and identities, are inferior? Or that we plan to go and survive in another land where we do not belong and leave Mother Africa barren? We mock each other when we speak bad English, but do not even know or care if we speak our own languages badly. Some of our children have become mocked to depression for speaking bad English. We hold our children to high esteem when they speak English well, and even much happier when they add English phonetics to it, perhaps speaking like an American or British. We even mock them when they speak good English but with African phonetics or accents, but we care not much if we do not speak any African language. I'm a culprit in this, and this is my regret now, that my children could not speak my African language as much as they speak English. I felt I have handed over the wrong values to them and replaced their true identity. There is nothing wrong in speaking or accepting a central language in the globe for easy communication and globalization. It is an excellent idea. There is no problem if English will be that language, since the acceptance has gone this far. However, my main worry is, why should we set such a high standard of acceptance of English language among ourselves and our children over our local languages, that it becomes the key to survival, such as gaining education, gaining employment, and attaining certain social status for credibility? My new Africa and Nigeria may speak English language or other foreign languages as a means of general communication with the world, but will be proud of her identities in her local languages and value it to high esteem more than any other foreign language. Now, just to buttress my point on the English language, you might know this lawmaker, I think in the Senate or House of Assembly, but a northern and Hausa lawmaker like that. Each time this guy speaks, people laugh. I mean, his colleagues, laugh at him. And even when they share in the social media or any kind of media, you just share it for the fun of it, just to listen to him and laugh at him. What? Why? Is it actually because he doesn't make sense? Have you listened to his messages? But people just laugh at his accent in English language and his poor English speaking. This is part of the values I'm telling you. So even the colleagues in the House of Assembly that laugh at him without paying attention to the message he passes, understanding the fact that he is not an Englishman and he was not born English. So there is no way we expect him to speak such fantastic and whatever English without. Did you ask him to speak in Hausa and he didn't express himself well? But even at that, the messages that he passes them very well. I get those messages and they make a lot of sense. But people are not listening because of the sense of the message, but just to laugh at him. So they just turned him to comedian because he could not speak. This is a very perfect example of socially engineered mindsets. So we look at someone who speaks very well as giving the person a high social status, so much respect and credibility, even if the person is saying nothing that is valuable to society. So for those, I will give you a good example. Just go to the internet, go to the Google, just type funny Hausa man in the House of Assembly or lawmaker in Nigeria. You will see this man's picture all over. Funny, simply because he cannot speak English or speak well in their own accent. You are tagged funny. But if you now type the same thing and put intelligent, wise Hausa lawmaker or so on and so forth, you will see different people. And these are the people that could speak good English and find a way of maneuvering their way, for their own interest. So they can maneuver the whole community, but speaks well because he's speaking good English. That makes you wise and makes you intelligent. But if you can say the truth, but not in a good English, you become funny. This is product of social engineered mindsets, and it's very bad. It affects everyone, both the highest in the educational cadre and the lowest, and we'll pass it over to our children. Look at the second one: disbelief in our capacity. Disbelief in our capacity, believing that anything that comes from foreign land is superior. So we have this kind of believing that everything from Africa is inferior. Every single thing from Africa. There's nothing good that will come out of Africa. Inferior, including ourselves. That's what we do. If I buy a shirt now or anything and give you and say, okay, I got this for last time I traveled to America and have this, what message do I pass to you? But if I still get the same thing and say, I get this one from Aba, or I get it from Sokoto or from Ghana, what message am I passing? Without saying anything, there's something that rings bell in your mind. Superior, inferior. Without saying anything, just by mentioning where I got those products. That is the values on negative, socially engineered mindsets. Now, I have this very worrisome and very disturbing experience, even when I was with the US government. As a public health practitioner, several times we must have heard some of our brothers coming out to say openly that they've discovered or produced drugs for HIV. They've done that. Did you realize what happened all those periods? Anytime any African claims that, you've gotten the drugs for this, you've done this, it's cleanly, even among ourselves, subdued, intimidated, and just died low. And nothing comes out of it because we never believed in ourselves. We never believed that we can produce or develop drugs for HIV/AIDS, including the corona that is waving and making waves, killing everyone, that is shaking the whole globe. Can an African comfortably come out to say, no, I've gotten the drugs, I've developed the drugs? Do you know what will happen? Even among Africans, we'll make sure we intimidate the person and kill the dream and kill the vision, or even kill the products and the inventions. You have some of our children doing some giant strides in producing technology and doing some good things like with technology and some computerized and so on and so forth. But we don't give it, we just don't give it any kind of hope. We'll kill it at the board. Now the same thing. One of those days when I was in CDC, I remember I was there, one of our colleagues who should be in charge of integrity and science and stuff like that. So one person, one African, I think one Nigerian, made a claim on having HIV drugs and having tested it and published in a journal. And one of us, shared that claims in the journal and wrote to everyone and claimed that that was not scientific. That was not evidence-based. In the first place, that the journal was a fishy journal, not the standard journal with certain integrity and that kind of thing. We'll just find a way of killing the whole thing and dream. And all this while, because I told you, because I've had this thing in mind, I was so troubled. So quickly, I now wrote and also copied everyone. And I said, do you just don't believe that these drugs can come from out of Africa? If this guy had done something wrong scientifically, we are the scientists and we are this level of practice. What have we done to help him? Have you done anything? Have you tried to write him personally and say, How can we see if this can come to the limelight? In the name of Africa, in the name of Nigeria, let it be that something good can come out of us. We've not, but we've not been the first to share the same claims and, castigated the claims, criticized it and rubbished it, and it ends there. So I just made that statement. I shared with everybody, but quickly, one of the foreigners working with us, supposedly our lead in the team, immediately counteracted my opinion and cited that my colleague that no, that what he said was right, this and that and that, and that kind of a thing. There was no evidence, and please, that he didn't want any further discussions on this, and it ends there. That's how that whole thing was killed, and we never talked about it again. In fact, even the whole response from him sounded a bit threatening. If he dare go ahead to defend that, something we don't like could happen. And we ended it there, but I felt so bad. I felt so troubled because I knew exactly what the problem was. If the same drug, the same claims were made from the country, from the US or Europe, anywhere, from the world that we trusted so much, the same claims were from a very standard journal, even if something was wrong with it, we would somewhat accommodate it. Would we think the same way? That my colleague, would he make the same statement about being scientifically or evidence-based or scientifically proven? Would he make the same kind of statement? But for the fact it was coming from Nigeria, from Africa, already done and killed at birth, we'll have to do something about it. Then the poverty mentality leading to loss of confidence, we all know that. Inferiority complex that is linked to aggression. That's why you see so much trouble, so much fights. Any little thing. People always think because you think that you are not good enough, you are inferior from inside, you always try to make up using violence. Things that you can bring to the table and discuss like mature minds and mature heads, you always resort to violence, just to make up for inferiority. And these are all products of engineered mindsets. Then perpetual dependent on aid for survival will have to continue begging, seeking for loan, and enslave the life of our children for the rest of their lives. Keep begging. Nothing good will come out of Africa. That is the mindset. That's what we believe in. Distrust among ourselves, Africans, fueling religious and ethnic crisis, continuous divisions among ourselves, are all products of socially engineered mindsets based on negative values. So we continue fighting, continue seeking for divisions without knowing that we are all victims of the same circumstances, including our leaders. We are all victims. Everybody is a victim alike. Then believe that foreign lands are safe havens. Foreign lands are safe havens. You will never find a safe haven in Africa. Socially engineered mindsets. Very troublesome and worrisome. So, after looking at this, I come to ask this fundamental question. And also let me know what you think. If you can imagine a garden with one color of flowers, if we all become like the Western world, what else would attract them to Africa? Where is the spice and beauty of diversity that would attract them to African countries? And I still say that I doubt if they would love to travel mega miles from their countries to come to Africa to eat pizza and burger, watch disco and hip-hop, dance and music, and so on. So, because we want them to still be coming and enjoy our countries, we beg them to allow us to remain whom we are, so that they would see something different to excite them when they come. So I think we should be able to take a break and go through some of these values that we worship, we glorify, without even knowing the beginning, the genesis, how we got them, and ask questions. That should be the least we can do if we're educated, especially for the educated minds. It's not about going to school and earning degrees because you want to make more money and get more positions. We should be able to think, reflect on some of these things. Why do we behave this way? It's our mindset. And this is the root of every product, of every goods that we manufacture this day in Africa. Inferiority. We never believe that anything good can come out of us. I really appreciate your listening. And you're free to send me questions. I'll be very, very glad to answer any of your questions whenever on this. Thank you so much.